Hey guys, welcome back to the F122 My Team career here on, well, F122. We find ourselves in race day 6 or race weekend 6. We're in Spain this time around. Notoriously a circuit that's difficult to overtake on, so qualifying could be key. We have had some good races of recent times though, and our results have actually been improving slightly. 15th, 9th, 15th, and then 14th out in Miami. Hoping at a track I'm more familiar with to do better here, but traditionally the AI are strong at Catalonia, so we shall try and do our absolute best, and hopefully it's enough to at least replicate some of our decent finishes so far, maybe go a little bit better. You can see that my teammate Taylor Porsche has had 2 DNFs so far this season, unfortunately. Lance Stroll has had 3, as you see down there at the very bottom of the list. Nicola Latifi just pulling up the rear in 16th, 20th, 17th, 19th and 19th, unfortunately for him. Has anyone else had more DNFs, or just as many DNFs as Lance Stroll? We said that Charles Leclerc was the most unlucky driver in this save so far. 2 victories for him, but a 10th, a 9th and a 7th in races where he really could have had even more victories. Just not getting much luck at all, and Max is phenomenal at the minute. First, second, first. That's outrageous. Carlos Sainz having a solid full podium run as well, but no victories for him yet. George Russell, top 5 every race, as you would have expected from Mr. Consistency, as he's now dubbed. Lewis not necessarily doing that well, but did pick up a podium in Imola, with 13th in the driver's standings, thanks to those 2 points in Australia, and I'm actually quite proud of that at this early stage of the campaign. So we've got some things on the way, but they're not here yet for Spain. Some will come pre-Monaco, some will come post-Monaco, but we're going to jump into the race weekend and firstly try and get as many resource points as we possibly can to help improve the car longer term, and we should be able to improve the fabrication department in the chassis department after this race weekend. And I've just noticed on the right hand side there that it says race rain. I might be in the way. Let me just back out. You can see there, we are going to have a wet race at Catalonia. That is going to be the first wet running we've ever had with this car, and it's also going to be the first wet weather running I've done in career mode at all. And you can see there, yup, that is going to be full wets all Sunday. Just 93% chance of rain throughout, doesn't ease up at all, so qualifying is going to be even more important. Oh, I don't know whether I'm looking forward to that or whether I'm really apprehensive about it. As ever though, please do drop the video a like and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Your support on this save so far has been absolutely wonderful, so please do keep it coming and let me know your feedback in the comment section down below. How are you getting on in your My Team series? What sort of team did you start with? A newcomer, a midfield challenger, or a team that starts right at the front? Have you done any wet weather racing so far? This is going to be my first experience with it in career mode. I had 1 qualifying session and 1 5-lap race online in the wet, but this is going to be 66 laps in the pouring rain in northeastern Spain. Yikes. See me after practice, and hopefully I'll have some news for you. Okay, so I think it's safe to say that the custom setup from the website simracingsetup.com is the quickest setup. We are slower in a straight with it, but the extra downforce just makes you round the full lap a lot quicker, and that will really help in the wet as well, because straight line speed is going to be less important and more downforce is going to be key. So certainly I'm going to be running the custom setup that we've gotten from that website here, this one, for quali and the race. I might add a little bit more front wing aero for the race, just to give me that little bit extra front grip in the wet. But that's the fastest setup, IMO. So we're going to get a really good haul actually of resource points from practice, and we'll head into quali, which is in the dry. Quali is in the dry, so it's not going to be perhaps the best lap time qualifying wise, but hopefully we'll be better in the race for having this setup. Certainly not very quick in practice though, but still got the edge of my teammate, although he set his fastest time on a set of mediums, a 1:22.010 compared to my 1:21.365. So I had 7 tenths on him, but that was with a soft tyre compared to his medium. Let's see how many resource points we're going to get from practice all told as we jump into quali then, and hopefully it will give us a really decent boost. We might even be able to add a little bit to the car, perhaps. I'm not sure what we're like with department capacity. We might already be trying to develop as many things as we possibly can at this particular moment in time. I get 675 resource points. He gets 225 as well. That's a really nice boost. And we're going to get some acclaim both individually and as a team. Continuing to improve our reputation as a driver in the save. And as hopefully, with a better reputation as a team, we'll be able to get a better second driver for Season 2. I think I might keep Teo Porcher for the full season though. But as we head into quali, we're going to pop that custom setup on. You can see again, look, just to reiterate, the race is going to be nasty. Full rain, all race long. 93% chance of rain. Wet. That is an official wet boy. Right, that felt like a decent lap. It's going to be a 120.4. 120.4. I don't know how good that's going to be after everyone's done their first runs, but we're ahead of an AlphaTauri there. 11th after one run. Still 2 seconds off the pace, but 11th after one run is decent. Right, we just double check we've got a fresh set of size on. Let's go out. We could get through to Q2 here. Qualifying is over. We are not going to improve on the second run, unfortunately. That said, P20. P20. It was a scrappy second lap. We were at the beginning of it, a couple of tenths up, but a really scrappy middle sector. And I've kind of thrown that away there. That's a poor qualifying from us. The first time that I'm kind of genuinely disappointed with my qualifying performance. Teo is dead last, so evidently the car isn't that great anyway. Teo Porcher dead last. I start 20th, and we will be off in the rain. We did a what? 120.2 in the first run, and I was a couple of tenths up. It was like 2.5 tenths up, so we could maybe have squeezed through to Q3 had I put in a reflective lap time, a representative lap time for the pace in the car. But unfortunately, that's our worst qualifying session of the season thus far. In anticipation of Monaco being worse next time out. But yeah, not great there. Daniel Ricciardo's done me. And I'm not sure where he starts, actually. He's made it out of Q1 as well. So Daniel's going to be starting quite a long way in front of us. We might see that rivalry swing very heavily back in his favour here, depending on what happens in the race. We fully anticipate it to be wet throughout. As you see there, 93% rain all the way through. So full wet tyres. We are leading the rivalry 7-5 at the minute with 4 races remaining. Hopefully those upgrades will come in handy for Monaco. We've got 2,740 resource points. They're going on nicely. That's building up really well. Oh, dearie me. Right. Well, I don't know as we really need to spend much time worrying about strategy for this Grand Prix, do we? Because it's basically full wets the whole time. We might have to stop once for a fresh set of full wets, but we do get 2 throughout the course of a race weekend, so we don't need to worry about tyre wear at all, really. And I don't think it's going to be drying up enough to run onto intermediates. Spain is always a tough race in any My Team that we've ever done. It's always a race where we struggle to do much, but hopefully the rain will be a bit of an equaliser, and maybe there'll be some opportunities, some mistakes from others. We'll wait and see. Charles Leclerc on pole, Max in P2. Can Charles actually have a good race this time around? Presumably, Carlos Sainz in P3, it is indeed. Russell 4th, Hamilton 5th, and Perez 6th. So seems to be the pattern, doesn't it? Alonso and Norris in 7 and 8. Bottas in 9 and Magnussen in 10. I'm keen to see where Ricciardo is. The further back he is, the better it is for me in my rivalry. Ricciardo P13. Hopefully there have been some penalties from other drivers, but I don't think there will have been. We were P20, weren't we? And we start P20. No penalties for anyone. I could potentially have taken a grid penalty for this Grand Prix and added an extra category on and just started 2 places further back. Maybe that would have been a good tactical thing to do, although I am anticipating to do that in Monaco. I'm anticipating qualifying last in Monaco, and yes, it recommends that we will unfortunately have rain throughout. Now, in the rain, you don't use anywhere near as much fuel. It's a 66-lap race. We'll absolutely get overtaken, and I don't think we'll be... I don't think we'll be needing anywhere near as much as 66 laps worth of fuel. So I'm going to put 64.5 laps worth in. I'm going to underfuel by quite a bit. I might put a couple of turns of extra front wing in just to give me a bit more bite in the front end in the wet. But the strategy is going to stay like that. And then on the race director, everybody else will be on full wets for the full Grand Prix. This is going to be a particularly tough one. Hopefully, mistakes all round, not just from me. And we'll keep our fingers crossed. This potentially could be a shambles, yes. The rain in Spain falls mainly on Ches, unfortunately. This is going to be an experience. We have never driven the AI in the wet. All I've done is 7 laps in online conditions. Oh, it's going to be a pretty nasty Grand Prix, this. But hoping... I mean, you could... It reckons you could two-stop and go wet, 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 but... doesn't make any sense, really. We'll judge tyre wear. A one-stop is the go-to. A no-stop would be practically impossible, I think. I don't think you could make one set of tyres last 66 laps around here. But we shall give it our best shot at trying to make some moves forward throughout the course of the race. As we say, thank you to Ragnick's Problem Child for 17 months of subscription here on the Chesnoid Gaming Twitch channel. Thank you very much, mate. Hopefully we can channel that into a decent performance. Me P20, teammate P22. It might not be the best of weekends for the team, this. But that's the nature of being one of the rear runners in the sport. Of course, there will be no DRS throughout the course of the race either. Oh my god, it's so wet. You literally cannot see a thing. I don't know where to brake either. I hope I'm not like 3 seconds a lap slower than the AI, because I'll be absolutely devastated if we just have to drive around for 66 laps on our own. Taylor's thinking about making a move. A number of people are side by side. We might be able to make up a position around the outside here. Battling with my teammate. They are fast in a straight line again. Hey, got beached on that curb. Rather ironic in a wet race, getting beached on a curb, but never mind. We're going to have to be wary with how we use the battery, because rather evidently it's just going to spin the tyres up the majority of the time. We're getting a bit feisty in front. Just kind of watching it all unfold at the minute. The more they fight, the more we might have a chance to make a move forward. Teo looking to get up the inside of Sebastian Vettel. Go on, Teo. It'll be a bit of a procession for the first couple of laps before things start to open out a little bit. It's so quick in a straight line, even with battery, they still pull away from me. Definitely something we've noticed with the AI this year is how strong they are just in full throttle sections of all tracks. In the dry, I might have fancied my chances at having a decent Grand Prix. In the wet, I think it's rather evident on a lap and a half's experience that this is going to be a long, not very fun one. This is the same AI that I finished 9th in Australia with. I apologise that this isn't really much of a spectacle at the minute, or even close to it. This is you trying to watch a man not crash for an hour and a half. Yeah, hopefully the racing line does dry up a bit, but I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to, does it? If the rain keeps falling this hard, there's no way anything dries up, really. The fact that it's not gonna ease up at all throughout the entirety of the Grand Prix just makes things even more difficult. It is a spectacle, but in a different way. Yeah, I appreciate those of you that are willing to sit and watch this happen. Oh, dearie me, this is going to be a short YouTube video, isn't it? I get black flagged for being too slow. sooner rather than later. Tsunoda's in the pits. That'll give us some advantage. Must have front wing damage. It's my only chance, really, isn't it? He's trying to make positions when others are struggling. Yuki will no doubt race onto the back of me, but the more people that battle and cause each other damage, the better. Because we're not going to be making any progress, are we, positionally on track? I don't imagine that was a... No, there's absolutely no way that was a... Like an early stop for a two-stopper race strategy. Not a chance. Let's have a look. Front wing damage. Zhou had a collision with Latifi. Yuki Tsunoda front wing damage. No surprises, but... Oh! Rough one, isn't it? It's a mixture, isn't it? The AI are really strong in the wet, and they're really strong in Spain. Which means that it's a double-edged sword, really. If it was one or the other, then maybe I'd stand a chance. But the fact that it's both combined, unfortunately, it's just not the one. It's not a case of gambling on inters. Like, it's just too wet for inters. Kevin Magnussen out of the session. K-Mag retiring. He's just up round turn 4 towards turn 5. Presumably, it's just a technical fault. Let's have a look. Yep. Mechanical fault. His engine has had enough. That Ferrari engine's giving way. That's an extra position for us. It's probably the second highlight of the entire race you've seen so far on the YouTube video. I apologise, those of you watching on ChesnoidPlays. Sometimes there are races like this at these early stages of a save, and this is going to be one of those. And I dare say the next one in Monaco is going to be pretty similar. But we'll do what we can. Currently P20 of 21, but only because K-Mag has retired. And Yuki had to make a change for a front wing. Oh, a lovely little Sunday afternoon drive in the rain in Barcelona. It's definitely still too wet for inters. Carlos Sainz out of the session. The Ferrari retiring from the front three, it seems. What's happened to Carlos Sainz? We're getting lucky with retirements here. Oh, okay, so Charles Leclerc has lost it. Charles Leclerc's been battling with Max Verstappen. He's binned it. His teammate comes round turn 2 and drives straight into the back of his teammate. Nice one, Carlos. We did say, though, didn't we? It is difficult to overtake around Spain. There you go, Yuki's going for it now. He's going to go around the outside of me. Try and hold him off, which we've done well.
It's still not a perfect situation, but I don't think we've got cause to move on to a different tyre yet.
No, it's going to be full wets for the whole race, Mark. Full wets for the whole race. Sainz and Magnussen are the two that have DNF'd. Sainz and Magnussen. I thought that as well, Mark.
This heavy rain will be with us for a while now.
I think it's because they're battling, though. There's 3 of them there. It's Gasly, Latifi, Pourchaire. I think they're all fighting one another, which is just drawing us back towards them, but they're still 8.5 seconds down the road. They're still miles away.
Okay, gap to the car ahead is 8.4 seconds.
Fuck.
Keep on him, he might make a mistake.
There goes P19. Back end just got away from me. Oh, it's so annoying. Managed to keep him behind for 5 laps. The car, it's not that the car is off the pace, TJ. The AI are really strong in Spain, and the AI are really strong in the wet. And it's just a combination of the two that have us just nowhere in this Grand Prix. If it was dry, I could be competitive. But a full race in the wet around this circuit, dead. I was hoping the rain would cause a little bit of chaos, but it really hasn't. It's just been a typical Spanish Grand Prix, bit of a procession with barely any overtakes and unfortunately minimal mistakes from any other driver as well. Yuki's now caught Teo Porcher in front. Thanks for the follow, cheer up Shells. Welcome to the channel, mate.
And burn off some of this energy.
Last year's tyres did last longer, but they are completely different tyres, aren't they, FIFA Trader? Last year they were really thick rubbered, thick carcass 13-inch tyres, or 13-inch alloy tyres. Now they've got 18-inch rims and a lot less rubber. The tyres were always going to be massively different this year to previous years because it's an entirely different thing. It's like saying your bike tyre wears differently to your car tyre. It's like, well, yeah. Or a motorbike tyre wears differently to a car tyre. Like, uh-huh. Because they're different.
2 laps until our pit window opens.
Yeah.
Put you on the full wet tyre.
I'd say I'd be more concerned about the rapid component wear more so than tyre wear. Although it might just be component, because in previous years you haven't really needed to put any resource points into component wear in the early seasons because it doesn't matter. Whereas this year it seems like they've actually balanced it better, but because we're not used to it, that's why it's seemingly more of an issue. Like, component wear is higher, but it's probably because they've actually balanced the durability department properly this year, or better than in previous years, and it means that you do actually need to put some resource points into your durability department rather than just concentrating on aero, chassis and powertrain. We could have underfueled by so much more as well. That might be a factor too. The fact that we only underfueled by a lap and a half, and evidently we probably could have underfueled by about 5 laps, judging by this. Something to bear in mind for future wet races. We started with 1.5 laps less fuel, like underfueled by a lap and a half, and now halfway through the race, we've got 1.5 laps extra fuel. And, of course, we're only going to be doing 64 laps as well, so I genuinely could have underfueled by 5 laps and made the car a lot lighter. That might be another contributory factor for why we are struggling as much for pace as we are. But generally, I just think it's that the AI are really strong in Spain and the AI are really strong in the wet. And I'm not that great at either. Meaning that this is just pain, basically. 20 minutes till lights out in the Grand Prix, the British Grand Prix, IRL. Those that are watching, we will pause this Grand Prix at that moment in time and go and watch the British Grand Prix together. The Mercedes engine is slow, is it, Clay? We're using the Red Bull one. Yeah, that's the thing, like, all the... admittedly, like, it's not particularly entertaining to watch me lap around at the back, but it is valuable track time for me learning how to play the game in the wet and how the car handles and how to get on top of certain scenarios, etc. It is genuinely valuable information, which is why you see in real life drivers sometimes just continue to lap round when they're 2 laps down, because any data that can be gotten with the car, especially with new regulations the way that we have this year, any data that can be gotten or any information that can be learned is invaluable. And just me continuing to lap in the wet and learning how the car handles and how the game plays is valuable as well. Just so happens to be a wet race at a track where the AI are super strong. I'd like to think if we have similar conditions later in the in the season, we'll be much more competitive at pretty much any other track other than this one in Monaco. Perez going for it. There's no way. Charles is trying to hold it on around the outside. He's still got the inside line. Charles Leclerc into the chicane. Checo's trying to go deep. Perez cuts the corner. Forces Leclerc. What? Lewis is going! Lewis P2! Lewis P2! The whole circuit just exploded. You could barely even hear Crofty. The crowd roared so loud. Now Checo's got Lewis. Checo P2. Checo forces Lewis off the track. Now Lewis is P4 again. Oh my God. Perez is P2 now. And Hamilton's back down to 4th. Max and Charles have been changing fastest laps the whole race, haven't they? Charles is right behind Max Verstappen now. They've just started their final lap, and Charles Leclerc is right on Max's tail, but it is a notoriously difficult circuit to overtake on. Not that we've been able to show you that today, apart from perhaps the few laps that we had Yuki stuck behind us, but they've got 4 cars in front to try and lap on the final lap, whilst trying to either attack or defend the lead of the Grand Prix. George Russell just puts in the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as he starts his final lap. You can see on the mini-map just coming up the hill now into turn 9, that big old group of a number of cars. It will either be a saving grace for Max or offer up Charles Leclerc the opportunity to maybe make a move. We'll find out in due course. But we're on our final lap now, and I would imagine that Max Verstappen is just about going to hold on for the race win. If Charles Leclerc does manage to nick it, then it'll be a hell of a finish. I apologise for the lack of action in this episode. It's just a culmination of a number of things coming together all at once. I think if the race was dry, I could... Oh, there you go. Max has been able to get the victory. I think if the race was dry, I probably would have been able to make some progress forward from where we started. But unfortunately, a culmination of the AI being super quick at Spain in general, and the fact that the AI are really quick in the rain, and the fact that I've not driven in the rain before with this car, and we don't know any wet setups, just everything's come together to lead us to have a terrible Grand Prix afternoon. Practice went really well though. It's probably the best points haul, resource point wise, that we've had from any practice session. And the car felt decent in the dry. I didn't put in the best of laps on my final quali lap in Q1, so certainly could have improved, but we started P20. I felt like we could definitely have been able to move forward from there in the dry, but in the wet, nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's to be a P20, unfortunately, of 20, not of 22. Stone dead last. We could have saved 5 laps worth of fuel. We underfueled by a lap and a half, and we ended up with 3.8 laps, nearly 4 whole laps of extra fuel at the end. So even without any sort of safety car or VSC, we definitely could have saved 5 laps worth of fuel in that Grand Prix. And that's crucial information for any wet Grand Prix we have later in the save. Whether they be full wet like this one was, or whether it's like wet to dry or dry to wet, or multiple of each. My fastest lap of the race was only 2/10 slower than my teammate, to be honest. And my fastest lap was basically on pace with Alex Albon. Similarly, Gasly and Lance Stroll. So with regards as fast as I could go, I wasn't that far out. But unfortunately, I just couldn't do that consistently with the car, the conditions and everything else. So it is what it is. That race weekend wasn't our finest, but we will hopefully go better in round 7. Although round 7, I believe, is Monaco. So I don't think it'll go that well there either. We might have a second really frustrating, tough, difficult afternoon. We'll go for the G-Force training for our second driver to try and improve his focus and his racecraft. But unfortunately, I just don't see us being able to do much in Monaco either. We will upgrade our facilities there with regards to fabrication in the chassis department. We have had some improvements to the car go on, which is good news. We can now upgrade further on the aero side department capacity reach, because the suspension arms are still going. I do need more rear downforce over front downforce at the moment. So let's put some finances into the energy cells as well there. We do anything here, that's still underway, so I believe department capacity will be reached. No, it's not. We can still add one more. So do we go for fuel efficiency or ERS? Probably fuel efficiency. That will allow us to underfuel the car a little bit more and ensure that we can go a little bit lighter at the beginning of any given Grand Prix. ICE wear or turbo wear? Probably turbo wear, because that's what's been more frustrating. That's what's worn quicker. Department capacity reached on that front as well. With regards to the items in the car, I will probably have to put my new ICE in. To be fair, I might, because of Monaco being Monaco, I might take penalties for everything in Monaco and give us an extra component on all fronts for the rest of the season. The energy store will probably have to come out after Monaco, and we'll change that. The ICE will probably have to come out after Monaco, and we'll change that. Similarly, MG UK as well, but we should be okay, I think, for the majority of parts. I won't do it yet. We'll wait until we get to the weekend and have done practice and see just how slow we are, or how competitive or lack of competition with our race times we might well be. But we have some new bits on the car. We've now unfortunately slipped behind Aston Martin in the performance index and are actually now the 10th fastest car and the 2nd slowest ahead of Williams. So it's not getting better yet, but it will do in due course. We've plenty more items on the way, and the car is certainly going to make further steps forward. Monaco will be another painful weekend. I'm making no lies about that, no qualms about that. We definitely know that Monaco is going to be another tough weekend, but after Monaco comes Azerbaijan, which traditionally we have been good at. Although, of course, we are down on straight line speed compared to everybody else, so I'm not sure. But hopefully, Azerbaijan can be a race that we can really do well in. I'm hoping, anyway. It's always one of my favourites to do. So join me tomorrow on stream, or today on stream, actually, as you see this, and tomorrow on YouTube for the Monaco Grand Prix. But for now, that's all for this YouTube video. Thank you very much for watching. Drop the video a like, subscribe if you haven't. Apologies for a really rubbish race weekend. Thankfully, in real life, we were treated to a spectacular British Grand Prix. I'll try and do something in Monaco, but don't hold your breath. That's all for today. Thank you, lads. I'll see you next time.